Wrestling Roundup was devastated of the loss of the Iron Sheik, WWE legend, this past week. And so we're going to be starting off the show with a 10-bell salute, followed by his entrance theme. Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Let's just kick it off with the biggest, or most watched SmackDown segment of all time, I believe. Bloodline, Usos, Roman, and Solo picking a side.
At least for now. This was definitely a very entertaining segment. I think it did everything it needed to. It continues to question whether Jey will fall in line, as Roman said he will, as they walked out, or like he always does, or if he will actually do what needs to be done and cut himself off from the Isla relevancy. I think it'll be in a fantastic storytelling, the way they're telling this, building it. You had... It's almost a 180 from the original setup to the story right now. Because you had Jey fighting against the oppressiveness of Roman. And you had Jim basically sacrifice himself for Jey in order to protect Jey, so Jey gave up to fall in line. It's also... This whole thing is also further elevating Jey Uso. It is making the Usos stand out, and they can make them solo. You can make them single guys, and it would make believable now. Something Roman said at the very beginning of the storyline, that Roman was able to elevate the entire family as the head of the table. And he has done that. Let's take a look at the Usos. Back when this whole storyline started, it was always, well, who is really the better team? The New Day or the Usos? After these last 3 years, there's no doubt it's the Usos. The Usos have not only the greatest tag team of this current era, there's now arguments that can be made from them being the greatest tag team of all time.
Yeah, I think, if anything, as you say, this Bloodline storyline that's, upwards of 3 years at this point, just keeps evolving. We already thought, main event Jey back then, making a name for himself, making a splash as a single star, working off of Jimmy's injury. And yeah, it does seem like potentially this is Jimmy's turn to do his little breakout storyline as well.
Yeah, and another thing is, back before this whole storyline, you couldn't really tell Jimmy and Jey apart. You really didn't know who you were actually looking at. Now they have developed distinct looks, distinct personalities, so that way that they really are who they are. It's really Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso. It's not being lumped together anymore.
It's not Uso 1, Uso 2.
Yeah. I think, or being confused as to which one it is. So I like that. I also like that Jimmy's really coming from it from a different point of view, different way of much calmer way of coming at Roman than what Jey did at the very beginning. I still think this does result in Jey versus Roman. I don't know if it's Money in the Bank or SummerSlam, but I think at one of those two pay-per-views, Roman versus Jey will happen for the title. It's very possible he could end up with the briefcase.
Good thing you mentioned the Money in the Bank briefcase there, because I'm going to use that as our segue. Some of the competitors slowly being built out. I think half of each match ready to go. Let's talk early favorites or early standouts that we're thinking for these matches, because for the men, we've already got Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, and LA Knight, who have locked in their spots, and 3 more yet to go.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, fan favorite Montez Ford got booed.
It's that LA Knight power.
Yeah. I would, if I'm WWE, I would use that. I would turn Montez Ford heel and have him use that as motivation for it. It makes perfect sense. He's done nothing but bend over backwards for the WWE Universe for the last 4 years. And he faces one guy and he gets booed over it. Why not just have him say, screw the fans? And it could be the match point that leads to his edge moment eventually.
Yeah. Always, we've been talking about the potential for a Montez Ford singles run for quite a while now. It seems like they wanted to stick with the Street Profits at least through WrestleMania. We've pushed on from that. It was also super convenient that Bianca Belair started to get booed around this time as well. Maybe it's time to pull the trigger.
Perhaps it'll just be a further thing. I like, and honestly, I like them pushing LA Knight. I think a lot of people think he should be the Money in the Bank winner. I don't think he should be, but I think he should be one of the last people to touch it before the winner does. But I think he should definitely be on his way up. But I think this will be a fantastic match. And by the way, I've heard complaints about the Money in the Bank being 6 people this year. And I'm like, I think it'll be better. I think you will have fewer spots where it's just people just strolled out all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I think you will have more action. And the first few matches had 6 people in it. So it's not like it's that uncommon.
And they were good matches.
Yeah. I think they'll be able to do more with it this way. Because I think they will each have spots and things that they can do to show up. I honestly, I expect Ricochet to do a shooting star press off the top of a ladder. Because I think that's his role in this match. He's the Shelton Benjamin Kofi Kingston of this particular match.
Yeah, and I will note as well, the next 2 qualifying matches have been announced. A couple of free agents getting a shot, because it'll be Baron Corbin taking on Butch for the 4th slot, and Santos Escobar taking on Mustafa Ali for the 5th slot, leaving, I think, the 6th slot for Raw's side of things. So a potential pretty rounded out field there, depending on how each of those matches end up going. But, Escobar, Ali, both pretty high-flying dudes, and Butch and Corbin, both pretty brawly brute guys.
Yeah. I've also heard rumors of potential, and gotta put quotations around this, of Butch leaving the Brawling Brutes and returning to the Pete Dunne name.
Yeah, it could be something. Gotta love the air quotes, or the quotes around potential. I personally don't think Corbin gets the slot, or Ali, really. I'm thinking Butch Escobar for those 2 for me. I think young stars getting a spotlight is pretty much what the men's is going to be, minus Nakamura, and depending who gets that 6th slot as well. It'll be an interesting match for sure. Whereas if we look over to the women's the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, should I say, it is the ladder match of storylines. The first slot being taken by Zelina Vega, and then the second and third slots taken by the feuding Becky Lynch and Zoe Stark. And if we look ahead, the fourth and fifth slots will be either Bayley or Mia Yim, and Shotzi or Io Sky, highly likely to have a couple of members of Damage Control in there as well, continuing their storyline.
Honestly, I think Bayley loses.
Oh,
I think they're doing the slow burn in the breakup of Damage Control, and I think Bayley loses, Io wins, and I think there's a chance, and this is crazy to say, I think there's a chance Mia Yim walks out with the briefcase.
I think you are crazy. I'm going to call up the mental asylum right now to lock you up. I don't know. I guess it's a hard one when we've only got half the field confirmed. You know, there's a chance Mia Yim doesn't even make it into the match. There's obviously something there with the pairing with the OC and trying to make that whole stable work. And then there is obviously a lot of storylines in the match. So Becky Lynch can take out Zoe Stark. Io Sky could still be taken out by Bayley, whether she's in the match or whether she's not in the match. So, you know, if half the field's gone from being attacked or from brawling too much, I guess it's wide open. All comes down to, again, who ends up being that sixth and final person in the match.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, it is roughly halfway through the show. It's time to go into our entrance theme of the week. When we're back, we'll talk about some NXT and a little bit more Raw and SmackDown. But our theme this week is none other than the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Rousey and Baszler. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Jump over to NXT because I don't want to forget about it. I don't want to skip over it. And there's a couple of implications around it anyway. So I'm going to start off. Bron Breakker. He's attacking people all night backstage. He's pretty mad. And ultimately we culminate in him calling out Seth Rollins for a World Heavyweight Championship spot.
Apparently to be on NXT. Which I think will be a fantastic match. But it does also kind of spit in the face of that whole exclusive roster, exclusive title stuff that they put out. So, I don't know. I like the match. Maybe it's a way to get him onto the main roster on Raw. But I think it would be better to have it on Raw. Because the title is a Raw exclusive title. And Seth Rollins is supposed to be a Raw exclusive talent. But it should still be fun.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what way it goes because Bron Breakker is pretty protected at this point. Obviously, a couple losses to Carmelo, but still pretty strong and dominant. Seth Rollins just coming off the tournament to win brand new championship. As you say, if it's on NXT, I think the chances of a title change are a lot less. I could still see some sort of storyline around it where Seth Rollins is like, sure, you can have your match, but you got to come up here and fight me. I'm not going to go to NXT. Surely this ends in some sort of call-up for Bron. We'd been saying it for a little while. And it was like, what's next for Bron? What's next for Bron? And then he just goes off and challenges a main roster wrestler anyway. And sort of just spins this confusing storyline, but we are just starting with it. I don't think Seth Rollins has officially responded or anything like that, so there's kind of a wait and see on this one. And then flicking over to the Women's Championship, we were saying, what's next? Is Tiffany Stratton going to get herself a dominant number one contender? We get a little Dana Brooke cameo on NXT prior to Chase U coming out on top of the number one contendership battle royal.
Yeah, Thea Hall, who was made to cry a couple weeks ago, by Drew Gulak and Chase Dempsey, won a number one contendership for a title she has no chance at winning.
but Chase U will still have some good celebration scenes.
Yeah. It should be fun. It was nice to see Dana in NXT, where she really needed about another year or so to begin with. And it was a good fake out to make her think that maybe she would win the match, or we were going to get Cora Jade versus Tiffany for some reason. And then we shock everybody with the apparently statistically the youngest number one contender in the history of WWE.
Okay. That's a statistic.
Yeah. That's what I saw on Twitter, that at 19 years old, she's the youngest number one contender for a title. But I also saw where people said that she should have been eliminated because apparently she dove out of the ring or something at one point.
I'm not fact-checking either of those, and I'm just going to blindly believe them. Yeah, I think it should be a good match. It's someone who is sort of that underdog. I think the match will build her as the underdog, comes up, gets a couple shots at victory, and ultimately gets put down by Stratton. Because we don't want to hot potato the title off of Stratton, and some of your other big stars that you had in this match, you don't want to take them down automatically with some losses off the bat. Your Roxanne's, your Coras. So there should be a good little buffer feud. Chase U will be amazing in the feud because that's all they do. They just are amazing. I don't think they have another setting, and. But yeah, I look forward to seeing Thea lose to Tiffany and looking ahead to her next feud after that.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a couple of other things around on NXT to talk about, but I don't really know which ones of them you necessarily want to focus on. We got Blair Davenport, we got the Creeds and Ivy Nile doing pretty well. Baron Corbin picking up a win. Mustafa Ali picking up a win. We got the Axiom Scripts Dabakato storyline. We got Ilya just attacking people. Tony D'Angelo continuing his storyline. Noam Dar starting his stable. There's a fair bit. Which one do you want to cover?
I guess we'll do the stable with Noam Dar.
Yeah, it shocked me a little bit, seemingly a little bit out of nowhere. Obviously, Noam Dar had been teaming up in a tag team a little bit here and there, picked up the win over Dragon Lee on the pay-per-view, and then picked up a couple other members for the metaphor. There's a hyphen in there. It's not the word metaphor. Yet another stable down on NXT to go against, the likes of Schism, the likes of Chase U to a point.
Gallus, when you include Joe Coffey.
True, Gallus. What's left of the Diamond Mind. There's a few stables floating around. Interesting to have a women's tag team in the stable. Bringing the numbers up to 2 and 2. Usually you see a 3 and 1 split. I don't know if they'll end up picking up the titles, because that NXT women's tag team titles are still in this weird in-between floaty state. Don't quite know where that's heading.
Have they even appeared on the main roster since being drafted? The tag team champions?
I don't think so, from memory.
The only thing I could think of is maybe a vignette.
Maybe. I can quickly try and find out. How fast can Grady Google? Smacked the mic. That's gonna be loud. On May 19th, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn took on Valentina Feroz and Yulisa Leon as a random squash match. That's it, as far as I'm aware. So they had one match, and then they've sort of just floated away. Unless Isla Dawn showed up on her own, which is doubtful. No. So I just don't know what the haps is in terms of that. You know, will Lash Legend and I think it's Jakara Jackson challenge for them? They look like the next up-and-coming women's tag team on NXT to be able to do something like that, but I don't even know. Are the titles getting merged? Are the titles not getting merged? Maybe we don't know because WWE doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as you said earlier, it's a perfect phrase. They're in no man's land right now.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens as time moves on. Where to go with this? Let's just go Cody Rhodes. He's got himself a little stopgap, and that little stopgap's called Dominic Mysterio.
Which should be a fun match. I think Dominic is extremely over right now as a heel. To the point where, and again, I'm going to talk crazy. I would not be against him winning the briefcase.
That's if he's still alive after Cody Rhodes gets his hands on him.
Yeah. I think he'll make a fantastic mid-card champion in the near future. It's just the problem is that he's currently on the same show as a heel champion for that mid-card title, and I can't see him facing Austin Theory, at least at this stage in their careers, because they're. But I think it'll be a fantastic move to put him out for a title. Perhaps not too long from now, so that you could have the power couple in Rhea and Dom.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Obviously, got to get past Cody first, and then, as you say, you look at Gunther. Gunther seems to be on a collision course for Matt Riddle. I don't see Dominic taking down Gunther, so the only sort of possible pathway to that would be a Matt Riddle defeats Gunther, Dominic ends up beating Matt Riddle kind of piece, which I could potentially see, but we've got to take 3 or 4 months to end up deploying that road.
Yeah, and that would just make Matt Riddle a transitional champion, which would be an issue with how dominant Gunther has been. To have a month-long title reign would be extremely disappointing on whoever beats him. Personally, I want to see Gunther hold it until he's broken the Honky Tonk Man's record.
Yeah, I see no reason why not. Gunther loves his long title reigns.
Yeah, and this one was legitimately earned because there's no 2-year hiatus.
That is true. To be fair, WWE in general are loving their long title reigns at the moment, so who will eventually break it? We'll have to wait and find out. Matt Riddle does seem to be the first one up at the at bat, though. Even though Kevin Owens tried his best to knock him off in a non-title match and ended up just getting himself pummeled in. Yeah,
and further storyline building for that whole thing between Imperium and Owens and Zayn. I think it'll be a fantastic match between the tag team of Imperium and Owens and Zayn. I have no idea who they're going to win, but I would love. Part of me wants to see the two guys with Gunter, whose names have escaped me, obviously.
Vinci and Kaiser.
Yeah, with the gold around their waist at the same time as Gunther having his title.
Alrighty,
and it might also be an element to get us individual titles so that we don't have them roaming with the 2 title belts. I mean, we just did get rid of the 2 world championships, which we really didn't talk about in the whole
That's true.
Bloodline thing.
They just gave him a new one and pretended
Yeah.
the other two disappeared.
Yeah. And I like the design of it. I really do.
I'm not the hugest fan. It'll grow on me. Most title designs do. Yeah, I don't hate it vehemently as other people seem to do. Just before we move off of the Imperium stuff, what about 6-man tag team match? It's all of Imperium versus Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, winner take all.
It would be interesting.
Get your titles on Imperium.
Yeah.
And leaves Matt Riddle versus Gunther one-on-one for further down the line. Just stretching on out those storylines.
Yeah. By the way, I heard a rumor for a potential match, round 3 between Cody and Lesnar that'll probably happen at SummerSlam. It's apparently going to be a stipulation we haven't had in a long time. My guess, ambulance match.
Yeah, when you said not in a long time, that's where my mind went.
Yeah, but I've heard people throw out another match that hasn't happened in a very long time. A 3 Stages of Hell match.
Alright. Well, we'll have to see how Cody Rhodes and Lesnar do build SummerSlam quite a while. Well, not quite a while, but a little while away at this point, and we have run out of time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND up, and we will catch you next week.